What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a very special bonus episode here on the Agents of Fandom podcast. My name is Adam Blevins, senior editor and co-host of the Agents of Fandom podcast. As I said, we've got a very, very special episode for you guys today. Usually, we keep it to our very general Marvel, Star Wars, DC kind of topics. But as you're all aware, there's a pretty big phenomenon going on this weekend. Two huge movies completely taking the world by storm. And we figured it appropriate to have a little agents only podcast, get a few familiar faces on and a few new faces on as well, and talk about these two awesome movies that everybody's been having a great time with. And I think everybody is undoubtedly super, super excited for. But without further delay, to get into some introductions here, first off, Agents of Fandom co-host returning, or Agents of Fandom talk show host. Oh my God, I'm already butchering this. Excuse me. Ticket to Reality. Ticket to Reality co-host and also veteran of the Agents of Fandom podcast from the past, Emma Doris. Emma, how are you doing?
I am doing well. This weekend was just absolutely wonderful. Spent it at the movie theater pretty much the entire time. So I am ready to talk these huge cinematic experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been great, which is one of the first things we're going to be talking about as opposed to just like specifics on the movie is how awesome it's been to see movie theaters packed and just general such excitement and like really good vibes. And obviously that with anything, there's going to be these, the shitheads, they're talking annoying and stuff like that. But it just seems like 99% of it's just been really good. And I think all of us and just the film community as a whole really, really needed that. So next up, we've got making his Agents of Fandom podcast debut, I believe on any platform, Mark Pacelli. Mark, how you doing, buddy?
That is correct. Debut. Excited to be here. Real cinema is back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then coming up next, we have Ash, who also, if any of you will know, if you've been following our Secret Invasion podcast, Ash and Em, I believe, are on for, what was it, episode 3? We had a great time coming on talking about episode 3, an episode that well documented that I don't like, but we still had an absolutely great time talking about this stuff. Ash, how you doing?
I am fantastic. This weekend has been a whirlwind, and I'm really excited to get to talking about it all.
Absolutely, yeah. A whirlwind to say the least. I don't know, like I went and saw Oppenheimer on Tuesday and then again on Thursday and then Barbie on Friday and then the double feature on Saturday. And like I'm starting to wonder, like my entire world is getting flipped upside down. Like it feels weird when I'm not inside of a movie theater. Lastly, another very special guest. I believe she's made her appearance on Fandom Academy before, so we can't call her completely foreign to this world, but to the Agents of Fandom podcast, making her debut. Aisha Shabish, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled to be talking about Barbenheimer.
This was just been like this really, really highly anticipated thing that I was a little bit concerned about myself with like before these movies premiered. I didn't want to see Barbie or Oppenheimer open up to like a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then there's already enough competition between these two, which I haven't really been crazy about seeing. I just want this to be a thing that like everybody enjoys, but it's been really good to just see so many people loving both of these movies and the theater being packed and all this stuff. So give me your thoughts on that, like your build up to the movie, your experience being at the theater and doing all this kind of stuff. So just give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was one of those things, like my expectations were like sky high, and I really don't like to have high expectations with anything that I watch, but this like felt like it was consequential. Like I felt like if either of these movies were bad, it was just gonna suck, like especially on Twitter for like weeks. But I wanted, and I was just like thoroughly interested in both movies, so I was just very excited. I'm like I just can't wait for the experience. And it honestly it's incredible how it actually exceeded my expectations. The theater experience was so fun. I saw Barbie early on Wednesday night for like they announced that like blowout, early screening party, whatever. And so I went to my theater. I was kind of like, okay, I might see some people dressed up, whatever, but like everybody was dressed up in pink and it made me so happy. Everyone was so excited and the theater was amazing. They laughed at all the jokes. Like it was just so great. And then throughout the weekend, everybody was like, and I saw people like posting just on like my personal social media, like, friends that I've known and family being like, I'm going to see Barbie and Oppenheimer, so it kind of like bled outside of like film Twitter and like the film community, which made me so happy because it felt like I haven't had this like theater experience and like feeling since Spider-Man No Way Home, honestly. Like it it just felt so like it felt like an event. So it was just very. It made me so happy that both movies are honestly incredible, and they're so different. So I agree that they shouldn't be compared necessarily because like they're completely different. Some overlapping themes somehow, but like still just very different and both just amazing movies. So it's just been such a fun thing to experience. And I fear that I don't know if this could be replicated, but so I'll probably be sitting in that little bit of letdown for a little while, but at least we have the movies to come back to.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm afraid. I believe you were the one that said something about it. That was like, I wonder if this has ruined the movies for me forever because this was just like such a
Literally.
peak event. And I thought it was interesting too that you just brought up talking about how there were people outside of like the film Twitter circle reaching out and talking about this because I don't know about you guys, but I've had people I know in my life that are, casual movie fans and stuff like that I'm friends with that are just reaching out and be like, wow, like how about Barbie and Oppenheimer? Like people that I know really couldn't care less about going to the movies on like an average weekend for anything. But it's like even like this extends so much outside of like even our circle. So Mark, why don't you talk a little bit about that too? What was your experience with it? Like your level of excitement building up, and then how was it like in the theater for you?
I was concerned as well. I'm not going to lie because it's becoming, especially since the pandemic started, it's becoming more and more difficult to predict box office performance. And you always see like these tweets or X's, I guess they're called now as of today. You see these projections like, oh, movie XYZ is projecting for $100 million opening, and these days it's like a meteorologist. It's not actually accurate. It's becoming more and more difficult to actually predict if people are actually going to go to these movies because interest is always sky high on social media. And for Barbenheimer weekend, I mean, for the last 6-8 months, it's like everyone's been building this up, and there's that fear kind of in the back of my mind, like it's going to be like what we see for a lot of these DC movies, where people you're tweeting out the memes, you're talking about how excited you are for something, and then people don't show up. And we've been seeing like these bits and pieces of people going back to the movies. Like I saw Tenet in a practically empty theater. I think I was one of like 3 people there. Of course, that was released in the pandemic. But then No Way Home comes out around Christmas of 21 and packed theaters. And the theater reactions viral that everyone watches those videos of the reactions to No Way Home, to Endgame, etc. And then suddenly 2022 rolls around and it's kind of empty theaters again. And then you have great events. I had a packed theater for Top Gun Maverick, and Top Gun Maverick was my personal most anticipated movie of last year, and that was credited as another movie that kind of, oh, this is getting people back into theaters. But then we saw a bunch of poor performances the rest of the year and the start of this year. So it's I was happy to see that this was one of the ones like No Way Home, like Top Gun Maverick, like the Mario movie, surprisingly enough, that got people back to theaters. And I just hope that it's the start of actually getting people back in there. Because, I mean, I saw so many people dressed up in their Barbie outfits yesterday, and it was great seeing, parents with their kids making like a family event out of it. Like, that's what theater is supposed to be. That's what we always overuse, like, oh, this is cinema. Like, that is cinema. Like, it's great to see people escape for a little bit. I didn't see the movies split up like you did, Adam, because I wanted my first experience to be the double feature. So instead of seeing Oppenheimer or Barbie on Thursday or Friday, I did it Saturday, the double feature, Oppenheimer first. It was an incredible experience, and I do hope that these studios, A, pay their actors and writers, but B, I hope they see, hey, like, this is what the spirit of all this is, and people want to go to the movies, and they want to be captivated in contrasting stories. And that was the whole big thing about Barbenheimer. It's you have 2 polar opposite movies, and guess what? People are going to go enjoy them both, even though they have 2 completely different target audiences in theory. No, I was the target audience for both of them. I went and saw them both. I loved them both. So it was just an incredible experience.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And also, it's a really interesting point talking about like building off of No Way Home. We had this big because I believe No Way Home crossed 2 billion or got really close to 2 billion or something like that. Like it was far and away the biggest thing post pandemic, post the start of the pandemic. And then, like you said, like Top Gun Maverick did pretty good, but then other than that, like, and I know Mario exceeded expectations as well. But as somebody that I saw Mario on opening weekend, or because I believe it came out on Wednesday or like in the middle of the week, which is always a little bit of an like an interesting contrast to think about, like as opposed to like an opening weekend when a lot of people are going on like Wednesdays, Thursdays, things like that. But like this was just unlike. I can't even liken this to anything except like Endgame, because even like going to see No Way Home, like it was really, really exciting and like it did huge numbers on opening weekend. But I'm just thinking about it like I haven't seen this many people in a movie theater in a long, long time. So Ash, I'd like to throw it to you next to talk about, the same thing, general excitement for Barbenheimer and what it was like being at the theater this
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned Endgame because Endgame has this entire franchise to back it up, right? Like, these are completely solo films. So the fact that we have this, like, whole weekend, like what Em said, it was an event. Barbenheimer is an event. It'll go down in history as one of like the most peak cinematic weekends that we may even ever live through. Like, I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to kind of experience this again. And I'm just so happy that I was able to, and it feels so surreal. My theater for Oppenheimer, like everybody, there were some, sensible chuckles throughout the at the end of the movie. Everybody applauded, and Barbie, everybody just absolutely roared with laughter. With lobster. Everybody roared with laughter. Sobbed. I know I sobbed. And again, it was like another one of those standing ovation, like clapping moments that I haven't experienced since No Way Home. So it was surreal.
Yeah, I agree. That was something that I noticed was really interesting too, having seen Oppenheimer 3 times, which I don't like. My soul is still recovering from that, and it's going to take a long
I don't
time
know
to
how you
recover
did
from
that.
that.
I'm still
And then
processing the
Barbie,
first time.
the only way I was able to do that is because I've seen Barbie twice to help lift me out of the that little funk. But it was really interesting because, like you said, there's some jokes and there's also a lot of moments that it's like it'll go quiet and you can just hear like a collective like sigh or like a gasp out of your theater.
Mm-hmm.
And all 3 showings, because the first time I went was Tuesday on a packed out huge IMAX theater, you can just hear that like people have been into it from Tuesday all the way into like Saturday. Which a lot of times, as somebody that goes and sees movies, usually like Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening when they soon come out, as soon as they come out, because I'm really excited. I get a very different experience with like the Thursday crowd than I do with like the Saturday, Sunday crowd, even so that was really, really cool to see. But Aisha, what about you? What was your general excitement like in your theater experience? How was that like for you?
It's honestly just thrilling that we get to be in like a space like this again and have like theaters packed because like everyone said it's like since Endgame, not Endgame, No Way Home, since we saw this giant and extravagant like event. Like for me, when I went to see Barbie, there was so many like a sea of pink, and I'm like, I haven't seen this many people wear pink since like who knows? Like, I was saying Mean Girls, but I was born the year Mean Girls came out.
Oh god.
So that was not gonna work. I had to put a joke there, guys. I had to.
Ooh.
Use the joke. Yeah, it's incredible to see packed theaters and see everyone like go back and see like movies again after this like long time, and like even with the Barbenheimer double feature, it's like the cherry on top. Like I honestly just hope like studios see this and see the impact of this and show credit to the artists behind these movies, like the actors and the writers, and show them that they deserve the credit that they deserve and like the
Right.
justice they need to like what am I trying to say here? Word. To be successful. Like they're the reason these movies are successful. They're the reasons people are going back to the theaters, and that's like super essential.
Yes,
Yeah, I
we want to see people make we want to see talented people make wonderful, gorgeous, funny, sad. Like we want to see like these real stories with like real people. We don't want AI.
Exactly.
Hollywood, get it through your little
Get it
Hollywood
together.
brain.
Give these
oh,
artists what they deserve.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you guys all make a great point. Obviously, everybody here at the Agents of Fandom stand with the writers and the actors and everything. And we're going to do everything we can to support those that are on strike while also continuing to do our work and pay homage to these people and know that we wouldn't be getting these projects without the people, the writers and the actors that work so hard on them. So I'm very glad you guys brought that up. But you also, it's interesting too to think, like Mark talked about this a little bit, and then like I think all of you did. It's like these last movies that we've gotten, I really think since the pandemic, like one really big comic book movie, and then like 3 or 4 now like big like original story. I guess like Mario is not really like an original story, but then things like Top Gun. I know Top Gun's like a sequel, but like Top Gun and then Barbie and Oppenheimer, like these are not like backed by anything, like you said, Ash. These don't have like an entire cinematic universe to fall back on. And I hope this is like studios can take this and be like, hey, maybe we don't need to pour $300 million into a comic book movie that we don't know if anybody for a character that people aren't familiar with, and just market it as a comic book movie and hope that $750 million worth of people are going to show up to the box office. Because I feel like we have irrevocable proof that that's not the case anymore, that that's just not going to work. People want to see good stories. They want to see unique stories. We've seen enough comic book movies, and I'm not advocating for less of them, but I'm saying like, I personally was more excited for this than I was and I was super excited for Spider-Verse. I'm excited for the Marvels. I was excited for Guardians of the Galaxy, but like, it really wasn't up to the level of Barbenheimer for me. And these are the 2 movies that I've personally enjoyed the most this year. So you guys all made some great points, but we got to get right into talking about these 2 movies, what we liked about them. And I would usually say what we liked and what we didn't like, but I don't think there's a whole lot that any of us didn't like really about either of these movies. But we're going to kick it off talking about Oppenheimer first, because I think many people that are doing the double feature kind of thing, that's where you start. You start with Oppenheimer because you're going to come out feeling like you just got shot in the chest. And then you got to let Barbie build up the vibes. So, Em, I'd like to throw it to you first, just to get your general thoughts on Oppenheimer, what you like, the performances, the story, everything. Just share your general opinion on it.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it so much. So I kind of did like, I couched Oppenheimer with 2 showings of Barbie, sort of. So I did like Barbie on Wednesday, and then Oppenheimer on Friday, Barbie again on Saturday. And it just, so what was crazy is just the theater experience. I mean, it was packed. My entire theater was basically sold out. I forgot I was in a movie theater for most of it, just because like you could hear a pin drop. Like, I mean, they're really like, it's not a funny movie, obviously. There's a couple jokes in there. And so like when the one joke happened, like people laughed and I was like, oh yeah, there's other people here. It was kind of weird. But I don't think I've been that like glued to my screen for anything in a long time as I was for Oppenheimer. Like I was sitting there just like stressed, and I know what happens, but it just like during like the test, the nuclear test, like the Trinity test, I was genuinely, so I was like, I don't think this is healthy for like the amount of stress that I'm feeling right now. Like just waiting for things to happen. But honestly, just like it was honestly, Christopher Nolan is one of my favorite directors, and I've loved every movie I've seen by him. And it's just, I just don't know how you can top something like this. The performances were all absolutely amazing. I mean, Cillian Murphy was just wonderful. Literally every single actor in that movie was just great. Even Josh Peck. It was really surprising to see Josh Peck, but he did a good job. I honestly really loved him. So like, it just, I mean, I'm like so I think like what Mark was talking about, like I also am the target audience for both of these movies, because I love, like, I have such a range of things that I love. Like for some reason there's just like, I love like historical biopics just as much as I love like comedies. So if I'm in the mood for it, like I will sit and watch like a 3-hour biopic like this. And I did not feel the time, like I knew I was in there for 3 hours, but I was glued to the screen the entire time. Did not even like, I wasn't bored at all. So it was just, it just was amazing across the board. The sound, the score was just like just the way that it was used to highlight certain scenes and feelings, and just everything about it. It was just perfect, honestly. And if I left, the final scene like jarred me, and I left just like, I was just sitting there like, I don't even know what to say. So 10 out of 10, just absolutely easy.
Yeah, shout out to Ludwig Göransson for that, and I apologize if I mispronounced that name. I don't think I've ever actually heard it pronounced, Ludwig. But it's Ludwig. Okay, there we go. Ludwig Göransson. Shout out to him, because he did a great job with the score, like you said, and the bomb, the entire Trinity test was just so interesting, right? Because building up to this movie, everybody's been talking about, like, we've seen the memes when the bomb explodes, like this loud thing. But then it's like the only thing that you can hear for any of that is just like breathing, obviously, until the fallout comes. And it's like, I feel like I'm just like suspended in midair, as if like I'm just hanging from the ceiling, like just in suspense, because it's just so that the way the choice to do it like that was just brilliant. And I don't think anybody saw it coming, because the first time I saw it, I'm sitting here just waiting, like you know the pulse is coming eventually, but it's like you just can't. My heart can't possibly prepare for it, and then even still, as soon as it happens, I'm just like jumped out of my chair, like
Same,
I
I
couldn't
was-
even hardly.
Mhm.
And those of you, this show
That was
won't be
so
live, I don't believe.
brilliant.
Those
That
of you
was just
listening.
so brilliant to be
Yeah.
dead silent and then
Yeah.
have that delay with the big, like,
Yeah.
come on.
It was
The
so
amount of times I literally jumped during that, like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. Like, so it was perfect.
like your heart just like ugh.
Yes. My popcorn like fell out of my leg.
Like,
Yeah, they did a really, really great job with it for sure. But Mark, I want to throw it to you next to give us your general thoughts on Oppenheimer, the performances, all that kind of stuff. What'd you think about the movie?
I mean, I was just absolutely blown away. My expectations were met and then some. Before I get into most of my thoughts, I did want to call back to one of the things Emma was saying. And actually, probably the biggest laugh that occurred in my theater was an unintentional one. And I don't think this guy meant to do it on purpose, but there was someone in the audience who, when Josh Peck did come on screen, he goes, "Is that fucking Josh Peck?" Like,
me.
I love when stuff like that happens in theaters, and that's so great.
That was so fun. Yeah.
like he didn't even like yell it out, like trying to get a reaction. Like you could just hear him. He just kind of, because everyone's so quiet, he just kind of blurts it out, and everyone just like absolutely cracked up. But shout out to our favorite son of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Matt Damon, for getting an actual laugh in the movie. Again, they just mix it in a little bit. Nolan will do that. He'll just kind of mix in a laugh when you don't think you're going to get it, and he doesn't make a habit of it, but it's great. I love when he does it. But yeah, I mean, similar to what Emma said, I mean, I walked out of that movie, and my entire theater walked out of that movie in just kind of stunned silence. That has only, to my memory, happened one other time in my life, and it was American Sniper. That was the only other time that I remember a whole crowd of people just kind of walking out of the theater, really not saying anything, because that's the way that movie leaves you. It leaves you feeling scarred. It leaves you feeling just like, how did we do this? You know, as a country, as a world, the world that we live in, and the people who, you know, all the takes on social media leading up to and even after the movie, because it's one thing going into the movie to say, I can't believe they're going to make a movie glorifying the creation of the atomic bomb. That's not what happened. Then you see people afterward saying, I can't believe they glorified J. Robert Oppenheimer. Like, what movie did you watch?
Yeah.
What movie did you watch? There was no glorification. I tweeted about this too, but you know, they make a point in this movie of pointing out how every single character, you know, and they're not characters, they are real people, but they're being played by actors and actresses. Every single one of those people are vile human beings. There's no one who looks good throughout that, and I was like trying to come up with my thoughts for the movie when I was walking out, and I was like, what an incredible performance from Robert Downey Jr. What a great job by Matt Damon. Alden Aaron, I can't pronounce his last name, Alden Ehrenreich.
There you go.
And Josh Hartnett, the Josh Hartnett resurgence is here. And I was thinking, like, I can't list out, incredible performance by Emily Blunt, Florence Pugh, because like I'm going to list out the entire cast. They were all so incredible. So, I mean, just Christopher Nolan got incredible performances out of so many people, and Cillian Murphy just goes without saying. Like, he is obviously right now the front runner for Best Actor. You know, it remains to be seen who's going to challenge him. A lot of people are saying Leo for Killers of the Flower Moon, but it's just, he was absolutely stunning. And yeah, I was blown away by this movie, and it's great to see a historical biopic. No biopic's going to be completely historically accurate. There will be inaccuracies. It's difficult for them not to, because, you know, unless you have firsthand accounts, and even firsthand accounts, you know, 70, 80 years later, there's, you know, going to be inaccuracies. But it's nice to see something that is not intentionally Hollywoodized, like, you know, something like Bohemian Rhapsody, which is just wrought with historical inaccuracies. it's nice to see something that's like, hey, we're going to tell this story. We're not going to make anyone look good. We are just going to tell you what happened and do it in a pretty astounding way.
Yeah, I agree, and they, they did such a good job. I thought towing the line between like vilifying what was going on, and then also like underplaying the necessity of it. Ooh, I just about had a little spontaneous dyslexia kick in right there. Um, and like the line that really hits with me, and where they did so well with that was I can't remember. There's so many. I don't want to say characters, but real people in this movie. I can't remember his name, but it was the guy that in the very beginning he gives the speech in Dutch, and the same guy that he meets from the beginning. And he says like that eventually goes on to say, "I'm not going to join you at Los Alamos because I don't want like the culmination of all of our work to be a weapon of mass destruction." And he sits down beside him and he's like, "I don't know if we can be trusted with this, but I know the Nazis can." And that like plays out to me that it's like we don't really have a choice in this. And like I'm somebody that's not familiar with Robert Oppenheimer's story. I didn't want to look it up like when it got to got all through the promotion and everything, and I was like, well, I already don't know about it. So I'm like, it's actually kind of cool to not know like how it could potentially end or what. So I was like, I'll just wait and do my research after, and then kind of be surprised about everything going in. But like I just thought they did a really, really good job, because even the parts that they do seem to glorify the act of it, like that scene, one of the most brilliant scenes I think in the movie, is when they're doing the stomping the feet in the auditorium and kind of stuff. It's played off very quickly to where like the people that are clapping and cheering are like evil, like and that is what was like wrong with this whole thing. Like even though these are like there's positive things going on, it's like you're watching like through
It's
pulled
just
your
like a
fingers
horror
apart because
movie.
it's yeah, that part was really, really chilling. So
I was
Ash,
scared.
gotta,
It was
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, I was
Scared.
too, and they were doing like it was loud too because it would cut to complete
Yeah.
silence. It was like, and then it was like all of a sudden the stomps would kick back in. I kept just about getting blasted out of my chair again when they were doing that. They did it. I don't know. They did such a great job with all those things. I thought. But Ash, what you think about the movie? Let's hear your thoughts on Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Well, first, I am a massive Nolan fan. Only he can get me to be pumped about the story of Oppenheimer. Um, I thought that it was great. I thought that the sound mixing was incredible. That's kind of what I was most just consumed with when sitting there. I just think it added so much to the story. Like I think without it, it would have been felt completely different. They had these kind of he put it. Or, I'm sorry, Nolan added these beautiful like. Picturesque and just these gorgeous scenes of like with the fire and space skies and everything. I'm sorry. Can I take a break for a second?
Yeah, of course, yeah. And it was really interesting too.
I'm trying to like talk through a lump in my throat and like words aren't
Oh,
coming out.
oh yeah, you're good. Yeah, well, I was
Well,
bounce
while
off of that real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Em.
Oh, sorry.
I'm
No,
sorry.
I just had what so
That
just
was
to
really uncomfortable for me.
what Mark was saying earlier about like the people, like the discourse that's already, and I don't see too much of it, thankfully, but when I did see like some people say, oh, it's military propaganda. I'm like, I just urge people to just like know what you're like, just look up
Yeah.
words, because just because the military is in something doesn't mean it's propaganda. And
Right.
honestly, it did a great job at vilifying the government, the military. I was like, it's literally the opposite. Like they portrayed them in such a, I mean, deservedly terrible light because they're the villains in this, some of the villains. But I was just like, come on, like it was. I thought it did a great job at not glorifying any of the atrocities that actually happened. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you
How
brought
about,
that up,
how
Mark.
about
Yeah, I
making
think
Harry
everything
Truman
was-
like the biggest villain there?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think everything was done super respectfully. I thought that it was as honest as it could have been for like what Mark said, for kind of this Hollywoodization of this Oppenheimer story. I think Nolan totally. I think he hit it right on the bar. I think he told the story to the best of his ability, and I think visually it was stunning. I mentioned the sound was what I was most impressed with, and I mean Killian, he was just a force to be reckoned with. Like he was a powerhouse. Robert Downey Jr. Come on, like I have been waiting to see him on the big screen again, and this was just the best kind of reintroduction. I thought he killed his role. I mean, everybody did. Florence, Emily, like it was. I mean, Matt Damon, the entire cast. We could probably talk about how amazing the cast is for 3 hours, which I'm sure we will when we go into more of the Oscar stuff. But it was phenomenal. I will say, I am very happy that I did not see Barbie right after, because I think it is a film you do need to kind of sit with, like take it all in. Coming out into a sea of pink was jarring. But yeah, overall, it's one of Nolan's best works. I'm an Interstellar fan. That's my favorite
Taste.
of his. Yeah, and I think that it's very, very close for me. And it's like a history movie, you know? Like a historical movie. That's not I'm not supposed to be into this movie as much as I am.
That's how I feel.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And yeah, I think one thing Christopher Nolan is so great at is getting the best performances out of everybody that he has to work with. And now we all know, similar to James Gunn and many filmmakers, like we've seen a lot of these same people in Christopher Nolan movies. And that's not a bad thing at all. That's why it makes me a little mad when we've been seeing so much of this stuff that's surrounding James Gunn and people are like, oh, he just cast the same people. And I'm like, have you guys not seen Christopher Nolan movies? Like Cillian Murphy's been in like a lot of them. Like Gary Oldman's been in like a
Oldman.
lot
It was so
of
nice
them.
to
Like
see
all
him.
they're right. It's
Christian
like
Bale.
a lot of these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christian Bale. It's like a lot of these people are in the same movies. And another thing you brought up
Michael
too,
Caine.
that
Yeah, Michael.
yeah, right.
Michael Caine.
Yeah, another thing you brought up
He
too,
wasn't in
Ash, is
before.
these
Yeah.
these visuals that like with the visions and stuff like that. I have just got to know, and they're playing coy with it in interview. I have to know how they were able to do this because, like he said, there's no VFX. All he will say is like, yeah, you know, we tested around with these really small versions of it and like filming these small. Like I have to know what I'm watching. Is this like a battery exploding? Is this like I don't know what happens when you set like a firecracker? I that's like one of the things that stands out the most to me because they're all different. Too, like we've got these ones that look like there's like wire like bending, and then there's things that just looks like we're looking off into outer space. Like I don't know. They did such an amazing job with that. And I know, you know, Nolan probably won't share his secrets, and rightfully so. Like, you don't want to just tell everybody your playbook. You can't just go out and be like, yeah, we did it like this, and now everybody will be doing it. But, like, because I don't think we've seen anything like that in movies before. Like, I think that
Well, he
was
shot
pretty
it
unique.
on film too, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that's how he said he likes to do that because he thinks that far and away gives, like, the best quality. And honestly, I'm not one to push back on Christopher Nolan
Yeah,
with
I'm not
anything because he
agreeing.
knows more. If I finish my life knowing 5% about film, what Christopher Nolan knows, I think it'll have been a success. So Aisha, we're going to kick it to you next and talk about what you think. What were your general thoughts on Oppenheimer, performances, story, all that stuff?
So I saw Barbie before Oppenheimer, so I did literally Barbenheimer, the way it's spelled. I thought the movie was brilliant, like brilliant. Like Nolan really brought that like flavor of rich cinema, like through the visuals and the script and casting a brilliant cast that all have like stellar performances. And honestly, like that movie was just like riding a roller coaster from all the tensions and like it goes up and down in circles, but like it ended super satisfyingly that left my entire theater in awe. And I feel like that's something Chris Nolan does really well in all his movies is like leaving off with a really satisfying ending. Like I, since once again the youngest in the room, grew up watching Nolan
Just
through
keep
like the
telling us, Aisha.
I'm gonna,
Keep reminding us. Keep bringing it up.
through the Dark Knight trilogy and how that like the Dark Knight in particular like, and how that movie ended. Like Nolan is so great at that because he's also a writer director. He's not just a director. He knows his movies. He writes them the way he wants the movie to go, and that's in Oppenheimer. He really executed that by telling the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer and all these other real people. And yeah, it was just brilliant, just brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny. I've been thinking, I was preparing for this podcast and thinking of all of my thoughts and formulating all that stuff. And then I'm like, you guys have hit on everything perfectly. That's so great about this movie. Like, and it's like everything from top to bottom: the performances, the editing, the story, the design, the directing. Like, there's no weak links in this movie, and especially that's hard for a 3-hour movie. And like you can pretty closely like identify this movie's acts. Like if I was to, and this is not a problem. I do not have a problem with this at all. But if I was to give it one ding, it's that this is a small ding. It's that the three acts are just like really, really set in stone. Like the first act is his backstory. The second act is the building of the bomb, and then the third act is what followed. Like now, for the record, like I said, I love that, and I thought it worked. They did a great job weaving all that together with like different, I guess, like flashbacks and cut forwards and things like that. Because I don't even really know how to identify what is a flashback because we bounced through so many different timelines that I'm like, what was the movie actually set in? I don't know if it even had like a set time that we were in. It feels like it didn't. It feels like it was more just
I
kind of.
think when they were in black and white, that was like supposed to represent the most, not obviously the present time, but Oppenheimer's present time.
Yeah.
Which was
I
a
think
choice to put that in black and white.
I
But
thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
I
pretty
don't know,
cool.
Adam. You've seen it 3 times, so you should be able to tell
Yeah,
us.
Yeah.
You're right. And it's like to
like,
me
you
watching
watched,
it.
like 9 hours of
I have, and I'm not quite okay with it yet. Like I'm still coming to terms with
you
the fact
mean
that
you
I
were
did
just
that.
not quite okay.
And
Period.
he was just not okay.
Right.
He was like, saw a bomb and just like, oh god.
Because I felt like, well, I thought it was really cool because before I was talking about like how, like me and my partner were talking about just like how is the story going to be told? Like, is it going to be through his, just sitting and like talking about his life, or are we just going to kind of see it play out? And I thought it was a brilliant choice to kind of do it through the perspective of like the hearing and having it be flashbacks, and the fact that it spanned so many years was really cool. I didn't expect that, and I didn't expect to have like the black and white sections where I kind of interpreted that as like Strauss's perspective and kind of like the juxtaposition. I was like, it's really interesting because I don't know too much of the history, or I didn't know going into this, and so I thought that was such a cool choice, and it made it just a much more interesting experience. So I mean, I just have nothing bad to say about it. There really is no
Adam,
no
Right.
It
issue.
was so smartly done too. It wasn't like, you didn't have like years like kind of blasted on the screen of when this is, or nobody outright said what year it was. They did it so smart by like his interactions with Einstein, which was like so brilliant. Also, I loved Einstein in this movie.
That was so cool. I loved it.
That was actually one of the other like laughs that people got is when Einstein pops up from behind the moving car, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, he just pops up!"
He like lost his hat, and like everyone started chuckling.
It's like a
He
cool
was
on
like,
moment. You're like, oh my god, it's that person. I was gonna say like no one wrote this movie in first person, so this is like through Oppenheimer's perspective. And like Em said, I also thought the black and white was to like what's the word?
Differentiate.
Yeah,
Transition
between RDJ's character and Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, I want to give a special shout. This movie has so many great line readings and deliveries and stuff. But like one of my favorites was pretty early on in the movie, like Robert Downey Jr. and Cillian Murphy, their characters Strauss and Oppenheimer, are talking about their past and stuff. And he's like, right, he was like, Louis Strauss was just a lowly shoe salesman, and she was like, just a shoe salesman. That was like one of my, just like his delivery of that, and like that kind of like sly demeanor that he get. Oh my god. Yeah, Ash, like you said, Downey was so great in this movie, and it's for me. I grew up with like Iron Man was my guy growing up, and obviously we didn't really get to see Robert Downey Jr. do too much. I think he's great in the Zodiac, but like other than that, like once he joined Marvel, like that was kind of his life and his schedule, and like I would never wish that he got to do anything else because that was like a huge part of my life and my childhood is like watching him as Iron Man. So to see him, and but now I feel like over these last couple of years, there's been this general consensus that like, oh, he's not really like a great actor. He was just great as Iron Man. And I'm like, you people are forgetting that he is a great actor. And like, this is a perfect example of it. But
Adam, have you ever seen,
honestly, go ahead, Mark.
Sorry. Have you ever seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
I have not. I'm actually not familiar with a lot of his early. I know I need to watch all of his earlier movies and catch up on his filmography, but I actually have not seen Kiss Kiss Bang.
Yeah, I mean, it just in general, if anyone wants to see just more of Robert Downey Jr. just acting incredibly, he's obviously really good in the Sherlock Holmes movies too. But like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is a really good one if you want to see him, 20 something years ago.
Yeah. So I honestly, guys, I think we could sit here and talk about Oppenheimer for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, like you said. But this is not the only big movie of the weekend that we have to talk about. There was another really, really big movie, which is Barbie, a movie that I love. And I cannot wait to get into this Oscar game that we're going to play after this. But, like, my expectations for this were, for both of these movies, like you guys, were high. But I had no idea what to expect, what kind of movie this was. Based on the marketing, it didn't seem as much like Mario, a movie that we were talking about earlier, is a kids movie that adults can enjoy. It's just it's a kids Mario movie. But this is not a kids movie. Now, I think kids can still go and watch this movie. And I think they should go and watch it. I think there's a lot of important messages that children need to see in this movie. But this is not just like a movie about dolls being dolls that's marketed for 5-year-olds. There's some really poignant and important messages in this movie that I really, really enjoyed. And on top of some great performances, not least of all is Ryan Gosling, who I'm sure, going to be talking about in our Oscar game later. But we're going to go back through the ringer again. I got to get all of your thoughts, starting with M. I'd love to know what you thought about the Barbie movie. You wrote the review for Barbie up on agentsofandom.com. Everybody go check that out. So you can hear her thoughts there, but you're also going to get them here too. So M, what'd you think about Barbie?
I loved Barbie so much, and I mean, both of these were some of my most anticipated movies, but I'm glad I didn't know. I kind of knew a little bit about it, but I only watched like the first couple trailers. I wanted to stop seeing, any more clips after a certain time, because I really didn't realize how meta it was, and how just like I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to be more of a drama. I mean, of course there was like a lighthearted tone to it, but I didn't know how like existential it was going to be, and they just nailed. I mean, it's genuinely probably one of the most feminist like pieces of media that I've seen in a long time, because just the way that they nailed like the experience of how women just like live in the world. It's just so just the way that they chose to tell that story through Barbie. That's like, I mean, growing up, Barbie was always kind of like, oh, that's like a stereotypical type of, perfection and beauty that nobody can live up to that. And it kind of like causes self-esteem issues for girls growing up and anyone. But this just kind of like broke that down and it just made Barbie kind of go through a journey that just like every woman has. So it was just brilliant. The performances were amazing. I mean, Ryan Gosling genuinely is the perfect person to play Ken. Margot Robbie is just wonderful. She just like nailed like the just being a doll, like just the movements and just everything about it. Like Ryan Gosling is just so funny. He's such an underrated actor that like he's just so good in everything he does, and all of the little like the movements, the facial expressions, just everything was just so funny. And also, I really want to give a shout out to Kate McKinnon because she was absolutely hilarious. And like, I love that she's Weird Barbie is just.
We all had a weird Barbie that we played with too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody has one, and she just like, just her line delivery is always so funny in everything she does. But like, just the way she's like moving and doing like the splits, I was cackling in the theater because it was just so funny. But it just like America Ferrera was wonderful. It just pretty much all the A-list actors to ever exist were either in Barbie or Oppenheimer, and it was just so nice to see these people. Just I don't know, I loved everything about it. It was so fun. Like I laughed pretty much the whole time. I cried. I mean, the ending was just, I don't know, the last line, honestly, for both Barbie and Oppenheimer, the last line of both of those movies one of them had me like stunned and the other had me genuinely cackling. It could not have been more perfect, because that's the female experience. I mean, that is you kind of thought she was going to this job, and we're talking a little bit of spoilers here, but you kind of thought she was going into this job interview, and then she's just there. Like, it was just, I won't like completely spoil it, but it was just genuinely perfect, and I did not expect that. So pretty much everything about it was absolute, just 10 out of 10. Again, like I have zero qualms with it. It was wonderful. The musical, it felt like a movie musical in some parts. Yeah. And it just spoke to my heart. Like, it's everything I love in a movie, and it was just so pretty, just very pretty. So I loved it.
Yeah, the set design was incredible. And I'll also, to the spoiler thing real quick, I didn't put a spoiler warning at the top, but as everybody listening to this, as I'm sure know, we are going to be talking about these two movies in depth, and there is going to be spoilers. Shocker for a lot of people, I know that there will be spoilers for the two projects we are here to talk about. I know that is a shocking revelation for people
You definitely for two.
that are this far into the podcast just still listening and upset about having these things spoiled for them. I know this is just a really, really tough week for you, but so there will be spoilers. But yeah, you hit on that perfectly, and like the casts of both of these movies. I don't know if they filmed these at the same time, but if they did, I assume that nothing else was getting done in Hollywood because every single person in Hollywood is in one of these two movies. And it's like we talked a lot about how Christopher Nolan is great at getting these great performances out of people. But Greta Gerwig did that too. And like there's so many people like Kingsley Benadir and then like Simu Liu both, or like all these people too are just incredible. The Barbies, like I don't even know a lot of the names of a lot of people. And I'm like, you know, they're awesome. Like everybody in this entire movie is awesome. Like for me though, the Kens, like the humor with the Ken, that stuff works. I don't know if they were just like design. I don't know if they designed that just for me, but that's how it felt because all the stuff with the Kens, I was just like I was embarrassed at myself for how hard I was laughing in the theater. Like I'm like covering my mouth, trying to
like the Kens kind of like stole Barbies.
I know. I was kind of like, it's about women, but yeah, it was just what was perfect for me is like it. So even like I kind of went into it. I was kind of like, oh, the corporation's going to be like evil. You're going to sit there and hate them. But they all were just so dumb that you just laughed. And that for me, that is beautiful to have the men just kind of be dumb and not really like they're just kind of doing their thing. They're doing their best. They think that they're doing something special. They are. And I'm just like, it was just funny. And the whole thing with like the patriarchy being about horse. I mean, I just, that was so funny to me. It's like horses and men and like the trucks. Oh my God. It's just so brilliant. And the writing was just perfect. Like I could not have thought of anything better than that at all.
Yeah, all they nailed the patriarchy stuff was just hilarious, and then like that line late in the movie where Helen Mirren, who's narrating, is like, maybe one day the Kens will have as much influence in Barbie Land as women do in the real world. I was like, I was like, freaked out because there's all these kinds of like one-liners in there that are just like, I can't believe she said that in a board. And like I would have loved to have seen the Warner Brothers boardroom, who probably looks exactly like the Mattel boardroom does in the movie, having to listen and like go through this and just probably like rolling their eyes and stuff. But yeah, I know we still got a lot of praises to sing for this movie. I want to throw it to you next, Mark. What were your thoughts on Barbie?
So I did Barbie right after my Oppenheimer showing. So I did have a little bit of time. I had like 45 minutes to kill. So it's not like I walked right into the theater. I had time to go to the MacGuffin's bar there at AMC, get hydrated, and then head into my movie. And before I give my thoughts on the movie, can I just say maybe this was just the case at only my theater, and I hope it is the case, but considering, like Emma pointed out, how there was kind of a wide range of ages who are going to see the Barbie movie. Like it's not a kids movie, but there were a lot of parents bringing their daughters or just their kids in general to see this movie. The previews that were chosen for my particular screening were wildly inappropriate. We had a preview for that Challengers movie with Zendaya, and then another. Yeah, and then another that I'm like, this. You got some young kids in this theater. You might like. I mean, the Challengers movie's rated R. Like so.
Yeah, that's like weird. For Oppenheimer, I would have expected. Which not to cut you off, but that just reminded me the previews that we saw for Oppenheimer. I was already stressed. I was like, I was stressed going into the movie, but I did not need to see almost the entire. It feel like that Exorcist trailer.
Yes,
like they showed like the whole movie.
Yes.
I was terrified. I know Ash, you probably liked it, but I was sitting there. I literally was like laughing and like I was covering my eyes and I was sitting there like laughing out of like pure like nervousness because it was so creepy. I'm like, I don't want to see this.
Looks so good. It's horrifying.
Yeah, it was terrifying. They played the music and the creepy. I was like, I don't want to see this. I really don't want to see this. So that was my experience.
It was an incredibly long trailer.
It was so long. Why?
It was
far too long.
Way too long. It's like the whole movie. Like,
Literally.
stop! I don't need to see this right now.
Exactly, right. I got that for Oppenheimer as well, Emma. So, but not for Barbie. Luckily, like they knew
Yeah,
at least not to put that in front of Barbie.
Yes.
But yeah, some wildly inappropriate trailers before Barbie started. Considering again, there was going to be young girls there. But as for the movie itself, yeah, I mean, I adore this movie. It's such a good movie. Obviously, it is the main goal is to show the experience that young women and women in general go through. But can I just say there was actually a lot devoted to male insecurity as well. Like they covered it really well, and it was covered
Don't make this
mainly
about
through
you, Mark.
Does someone think of the men?
not my intent. Not my intent. I'm trying to
Patriarchy.
build.
The
I'm
time-
trying to build.
You're doing patriarchy right, Mark. You're doing a good
I'm-
job with patriarchy.
Good
I'm
job,
trying
Mark.
to build to a larger point. Is that my larger point is that it was not a men hating film. Like
Right.
it legitimately points out, like in this again spoilers. Ken, his sense of self worth is tied to whether or not Barbie likes him. It turns out she doesn't. At least not that way. But to go through that self discovery, but listen, in terms of the reaction, like I said, the reaction to Oppenheimer, again, like people just tweeting out wild stuff. People tweeting out like, "Oh my god!" Like I walked out because this movie hates men. All right, you can look at this from two perspectives. Number one, option one, you can roll your eyes and say, "Oh, they're saying that we explain the entire movie to our significant other. We don't do that." Or you can say, "Yeah,
They do.
yeah, we do that." Okay, yeah, fair criticism. Like they're not pointing out anything that isn't true. Okay. So yeah, it's great to be able to watch that movie, and again, it's a very fair, balanced critique of our society, and to deny it is to just be lying to yourself. So I thought it did a really good job, and the overall message of being okay with yourself and having your sense of self worth. And can I just say that America Ferrera's monologue is just like that should be talked about for years. All right, that was just such a well stated, encapsulation of what women go through every day. And that can be relatable to all women out there, I assume. But
Can confirm.
it's just I just thought it was so well made, and I did like that one line where Helen Mirren breaks the fourth wall and like, maybe we don't cast Margot Robbie to try and make this
That's
point
great,
about not
yeah.
feeling attractive. Yeah.
He's like,
I
yeah,
love the laugh I let out.
pretty. And then
Yeah.
I remember hearing Margot say that. I'm like, girl.
Yeah, I was like,
And comes in and I'm like, genius.
because they knew everybody was going to be thinking that, like, I'm sorry, you're literally the most beautiful
You're
person
Margot
I've ever seen.
Robbie. Like, hello.
It's just so
You're
funny.
literally, you have boogers coming out of your nose and you're still the most gorgeous person
I
on
don't
this.
look like that when I'm crying. Like like she's beautiful when she's crying. I'm like, come on now.
Exactly. So I mean, I just thought that it was so well done, and is it a little bit meta? Sure, but it's I loved how it covered so many different things, and especially mother-daughter relationships, about how again kids grow up, and you don't necessarily have to grow apart. There's a path back there too. With America Ferrera's character and her daughter. So I thought that it was so well done on a lot of fronts, and it's going to be a movie that rightfully smashes at the box office.
Oh yeah, I mean, it appears it's already doing really well. I don't have the numbers up in front of me, but I think it rounded out something worldwide to like 375 million. 200, okay, yeah, opening weekend, which on a $140 million budget is absolutely incredible. This movie should get up there to $1 billion and should make a boatload of money. And Lord knows Warner Brothers needs it right now after the disaster that was The Flash.
Oh,
So,
yep.
But Mark, you did a really good job talking about that, and also like one thing that I really love so much about this movie that you hit on a little bit is that there's something for everybody that's kind of been going through that at one point or another in their life has dealt with insecurity or anxiety or any kind of mental health issue. Like there's a part in this movie for you, and there's like a storyline in there for you that helps you feel seen, like regardless of which agree to the first part of what you said, where people coming out and just being like, oh, they don't want men. And I was like, I don't know if you just had a predetermined like thought that was what you were going to see about this movie, because that's what it feels like. Because like I did not get that. I mean, men take over Barbie Land for like half of the movie, and like I know it's acknowledged that that's wrong, but I'm like, if this was like a movie about hating men, like I don't even know how they would have portrayed that, because that's not at all what this is about, and I don't know how anybody can come out of that getting the vibe. Like I mean, I don't know, but
they're not portraying anything that isn't true. You know, that's exactly what men do. You know,
right?
That's
Exactly.
exactly what we do.
The Godfather stuff was incredible. It's like
That was so funny.
When Kingsley Benadire turns and looks, she's like, "You haven't seen it? What?
You haven't seen it?" I was like, because that's how it is. Like, and I feel like I've never had something like that where, you know, because women deal with that all the time, and like we'll talk about it, and you know, men will kind of just be like, "Oh, we don't do that," and then like it's right there, and I'm like, yes, this is like it's not just me, like everyone experiences this. So I went to see it with my boyfriend Chris. We'll give him a shout out. And he absolutely it's over. He absolutely loved it. But then there was like the time, like when they started playing that Matchbox 20 song, I just looked at. He was like, "Oh, I love that song. That's fair. That's totally fair."
Love that song.
It's just perfect.
Yeah, they did a really, really good job with all that stuff. I really don't have any in terms of like the way they chose to tackle everything. I have literally 10 out of 10, no notes, no complaints. Ash, I'll throw it to you next. What'd you think about the Barbie movie?
Yeah, I mean, no notes. I think it's an instant classic, iconic even. Margot Robbie, of course she's Barbie. She's, like we were just saying, she's gorgeous and she's just perfection. But I also loved Simu's character. Like him up against Ryan Gosling, like perfect chemistry. I can't imagine anybody else doing that
Chemistry.
role.
Chemistry.
Yes,
Nice.
Chemistry. That's a great pun. Aisha, why don't you go, because I have something in my eye.
Barbenheimer has.
What'd you think, Aisha? Broke Ash. Ash is just broken up because of Barbie.
Yeah, she's broken.
She talking about Tina and tears came down.
I'm still sobbing.
What'd you think about Barbie, Aisha?
Me? I mean, it's Greta freaking Gerwig, baby. Like, I love Greta Gerwig the same way you guys love Chris Nolan. I adore Chris Nolan, but I love Greta's movies a little bit more. And it's honestly, Barbie was not what I was expecting. Like, I was like, oh, it's like a Barbie movie, and I go in, it's like a whole story about like feminism and vulnerability and being okay to be vulnerable and like learning about the patriarchy and like in this way other than reading in textbooks and history. And something that stayed on to like clicked on to me is that for Greta Gerwig movies, she's directed 4, but for the main 3, she's always nailed down the aspect of why it's hard to be human. Like, for example, in Lady Bird, Saoirse Ronan's character was talking about how it's hard to be a female teenager, and then Little Woman, not only with Saoirse again talking about like the struggles of being a woman, but Florence Pugh as well talking about the standards of marriage at that time in that era. And Greta writes these monologues so well that even in Barbie with America Ferrera, and talking about like the realness of our society, it was just, like the writing was just perfect. And yeah, about the cast as well, like Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, perfect Barbie and Ken. Everyone in the cast was perfectly casted. Like when Kingsley Benadire,
I could range of that man, honestly.
Oh yeah,
like,
and he's playing Bob Marley now too.
There you go.
That's right.
He's a girl. He's playing everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, like Gosling and like anyone's getting awards for this. Like Gosling and Ferrera both like stood out to me. Like they're just perfect. Like this movie was just perfect. I loved it.
I agree. Well, Ash, if you now have your little the quarrel that was in your eye is no longer bothering you, let's get your thoughts on the.
I'm good.
You're good. Let's get your thoughts on the rest of the movie.
I mean, I agree with everything that everybody has said so far. It's perfect. I thought it was perfect. I walked out with a huge smile on my face. I mean, yes, there are like very kind of depressing tones. Oh, depressing Barbie.
Oh my god.
I feel attacked.
I felt so attacked.
I
felt her in my soul. Like I was like, that's me. That is my
that's me.
The Pride and Prejudice. The Starburst.
Watching Pride and Prejudice. Yeah.
the OCD and anxiety and stuff sold separate. I'm like, I am so this is
Oh, that
about me,
acting
and
was
I don't like it.
Brilliant.
that was so good.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, Barbie is truly kind of that like pop song with that like sick tempo that just like makes you want to
Yes.
dance. But when you kind of read or really carefully listen to the lyrics, you're just like, wow, this is really really heavy stuff.
Yep.
And I think those are my favorite type of songs, and I think this is my favorite type of movie too.
Even that Lizzo song, the one in the opening,
Yes.
Pink, and how it was going, like
Oh
Lizzo was
yes,
singing what Margot's Barbie was doing, and I was like, this is genius.
It's so
that
good.
yeah.
was
You know,
perfect for that moment.
yeah, I'm usually not a person that enjoys like I know this is not a popular opinion. I usually don't enjoy musicals like, but all the
Boo.
stuff within this
Yeah.
movie, the song, the dancing, everything, especially like the Ken again, like the Ken's dancing at the end, but even like that the big dance at the beginning when she was like nothing planned tonight, just a big blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography. Like you should stop by, like that the actual planned choreography that they had planned was
It was so
incredible. Like
good.
those are some of my favorite parts of the movie, and which is saying something. Like I said, as somebody that's not really into musicals, but they did just a phenomenal job with the sound and all that stuff. But we are getting ready to talk about. I was getting ready to dive into a specific song from this movie, but I am going to save that for one of the awards, which I think I think many people
I
are
think
going
we're
to
have
be
the same award. Yep.
yeah, I think a
Okay.
lot of people are going to be might be having that one as an award. But the next game that we're going to play, we've given all of us have given very broad thoughts, but also some specifics on both Barbie and Oppenheimer. I think the general consensus here at the Agents of Fandom is that we love both of these movies, and we're just glad to have people going and seeing the movies like in theaters and enjoying all this kind of stuff. So this has
Cinema.
just been cinema is back, absolutely. But we've got Oscars to give out now. This is against. I'm very excited to play this game because I think while there may be some like similarities in our answers, I do think we're gonna have some different ones, and I'm really excited to see if anybody swings for the fences with anything or maybe gets any kind of surprises because I feel like I know you all pretty well. I feel like I've got an idea of the answers that I'm getting ready to see, but I'm very excited. So the game is each of us get 4 Oscars to give away in any category that we choose. Now, for everybody, full disclosure, this is not a draft. If I pick Best Actor, Emma can pick Best Actor, Mark can pick Best Actor. Anybody can pick whichever, they can give any award they want to anybody. So, Em, you're going to kick us off. Give us you got 4 Oscars to assign. You can do 4 for Barbie, 4 for Oppenheimer, whatever you want. You got 4 Oscars to give away and give them to anybody. Who are you giving them to?
So my first one, I'll kind of start on the less big awards and kind of work up. But I absolutely believe best production design needs to go to Barbie because it just was so beautiful, and that was one big thing that stood out to me. It was just the aesthetics. It was just so fun to look at with the pinks and the little beach and all the decorations down to every single detail. It was just perfection. So that will be my first Oscar. Barbie is taking it. And then I have a few. I wrote down more than 4 just because I need to cover my bases. But I think the next one I'm gonna go with is I think we'll probably all have this, or at least a lot of us will. Best original song has to go to "I'm Just Ken." When Mario came out, I was like, "Oh, Peaches is great. Jack Black really killed it," and I still believe that. It's still very great, but if that wins over "I'm Just Ken," then I will be upset because this was it's like an '80s like power ballad musical. The key changes, just I mean, his singing was great. Like it all was just wonderful. So I've really honestly been playing it on repeat since I saw it. So just that's it's just great. So that's my second one. I'm gonna go with I know a lot of people are going to do best actor, best supporting, but I'm going to go with a couple different ones. I'm going to go with best director for Greta Gerwig, and this was really tough because I think Chris Nolan very much would deserve it as well. But I'm going to go Greta because just every like decision uh, for this movie was just executed perfectly, like the way that every where the actors were and like what they were doing, their facial expressions, just everything was just amazing. So I think she very much deserves it. I would be happy with either Chris Nolan or Greta, but I'm going with Greta because she's just wonderful. And then finally, I am gonna go Best Picture for Oppenheimer. I'm just gonna go balls to the wall. We're just gonna, because I don't know what else is gonna. I mean, we got Killers of the Flower Moon coming, but I don't really see anything else kind of comparing to this. I don't really know the exact Oscar season, like where it cuts off. But yeah, I'm just gonna throw it Best Picture Oppenheimer. I feel
That's
confident.
for yeah,
That's
that's
bold.
for really strong picks right there. I'm with you too. I actually feel bad for Jack Black because you remember when that came out, everybody was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, he's got best original song locked up," and now it's like Peaches is maybe 20% as good as I'm Just Ken. Maybe I
Yeah,
seriously don't remember
exactly.
the last time that a song like this came out that I've just had on repeat. Like I cannot
I agree.
stop listening to this song start to finish. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, four very strong picks right there. Mark, what about you? You got 4 Oscars to give out between Barbie and Oppenheimer. Who's getting them?
All right, so the Michael Cera coronation begins. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's go.
So my first one, and this is something that Ash brought up much earlier in our podcast, and I'm glad she did because this is something that Christopher Nolan's been criticized kind of unfairly for a lot of his movies, and that's sound mixing. So I'm going to give the Oscar for sound mixing to Oppenheimer. I mean, I was blown away. I was not in like a special theater or anything, but there were points where my seat was actually vibrating. And it was not a special theater. It was purely from the actual audio of the movie. You heard everything, and there was that one review that Adam had shared with us the other day, where it was like, "This movie was bad because it was too loud." It's like, wow, yeah, like
The bomb is supposed to be quiet.
yeah, it's a movie about the creation of the atomic bomb. Like it's
Yeah.
going to be loud. Plus, if it were quiet, then people would do the usual things like Chris Nolan's movies actually aren't good because you can't hear them. Again, I think people need to get their ears checked. But so I just thought the sound mixing and just the overall audio quality was so good, and it definitely deserves to be recognized, and I think it will be. So that's half prediction, half entry in the game. Um, my other is also going to be for Oppenheimer, and that is for Best Original Score. The score was absolutely incredible, especially in the third act when it was pretty much going the entire time. Like it was playing, and it was escalating as like the scenes, especially in the hearing, got more tense. So like it was constantly going on while there was dialogue, and it was just kind of becoming more and more prevalent. And I thought it was so well done, and it helped deliver again that the tension of those scenes so well. So I just think that best original score should also go to Oppenheimer. As for best supporting actress, I'm going to go with America Ferrera here. Again, I just thought that she was so
Nice.
fantastic in
Love
Barbie.
that.
It was such a great role for her, and again, that monologue was so fantastic, and she really just captured the essence of this movie for a non-Barbie character. It was fantastic. So America Ferrera is my pick for best actress. And then for best actor in a supporting role, the easy pick is one that a lot of people are going to make. I know this is not a draft, but I'm going to let other people make the obvious pick for best supporting actor. I'm going to go with a little bit of a wild card here. It's not Michael Cera. I'm going with Josh Hartnett. I thought that Josh Hartnett was fantastic
Nice one.
in Oppenheimer. Adam doesn't like this pick. Okay. Uh, I thought that Hartnett was fantastic in Oppenheimer, and again, it's not the obvious pick. It's going to be RDJ. We know it's going to be RDJ, but I'm going a little outside the box here. I thought that he had some really good scenes. He was acting alongside Cillian Murphy probably more often than anyone else. Maybe Matt Damon, but they had a lot of scenes together, and there was a lot of give and take between the two of them. And I thought that he really did a great job on the screen, and I'm hoping for big things for him coming up with maybe some castings.
Ooh, 4 more really strong picks. You guys are swinging for the fences and you're hitting home runs right now. That's incredible. And you also both have had 2, or at least 1 or 2 picks that I was not expecting. And I think generally, even though like you said, this is not a draft, we're all going to kind of try to differentiate a little bit just for the sake of it would be boring if we all had the same picks. But Ash, you're up next. 4 Oscars going to Barbie and going to Oppenheimer, or
Okay.
either or. Who's getting them?
All right, so I'm going to start off with a bang. Best Picture, Oppenheimer, for sure. I know, like we said, there's other movies that are obviously going to come out, but right now, Oppenheimer, I think, has it in the bag. So I'm gonna go a little rogue here, okay? And best original song, I'm going to not choose a song from Oppenheimer or Barbie.
Ooh.
I'm going to choose Carolina, Taylor Swift, because I gotta, squeeze her in here somehow.
Yeah, always friggin' Taylor.
Yeah, let a Prodog sing. Let's go, Tay Tay.
The Swifties are coming.
Yes, Swifties are everywhere. You can't escape.
Phantom Academy would be proud.
Oh yeah.
Best director, gosh, this is hard because I think they both made something so special. I'm gonna go with Greta because I feel like Christopher Nolan, yes, he did an outstanding job, but it is a film not that he's made before, but it's a familiar formula I feel like that he uses, and where Greta, I feel like she stepped out of her comfort zone, and it's truly unique. I've never watched any movie like Barbie. So Greta's gonna get best director. Supporting actor RDJ. Yes, there we go. Adam's happy about that one. Yeah, I mean, he killed it. He was such a hater, and he played it so
Yeah, he
well.
really was.
Hater of the year.
Yeah,
I honestly admired that level of pettiness.
Yeah.
You gotta respect that just a little
right.
bit.
He was so
As a petty
calculated.
person, that was.
Leave it to the Swifties to break the parameters of the game and select a Taylor Swift song for best original. You confused me because you were like, I'm gonna go outside of the box and I'm not picking from Barbie or Oppenheimer, and I was like, wait, what? You're gonna do what? Okay.
Campaign, Ash and I will start the campaign.
Yes.
Aisha, we're on to you.
Guys. Okay, listen to it.
Yes,
you've got 4 Oscars to give out between Barbie and Oppenheimer. Who's getting them? Okay.
Best director Taylor Swift.
Electric Touch, right?
Hey! Oh yeah, that could also Electric Touch is perfect for Oppenheimer. Anyway, not the point. I was gonna go best original screenplay, and that's going to Barbie because Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, her husband, nailed it. Because, like I said, Barbie was so unexpected, and the writings and contributed to like America Ferrera's monologue too. Like it was just beautifully written, beautifully just done. My second
pick. Our writers.
Yes, pay our writers, please. Like, AI can't do this. This is from the brains of Greta and Noah. Like, come on. I'm going to agree with Mark with Best Supporting Actress, America Ferrera, because she nailed that performance. Like, that comeback. Like, I haven't seen her in a lot of movies, and this is probably her comeback performance, and that was... Barbie was, like, the perfect performance for her to come back into the film world again, and just perfect. Best score? I'm gonna go with Oppenheimer because Ludwig Göransson, he is an Oscar winning. Yeah, he's an Oscar winning composer. Like Black Panther was phenomenal, and this score, like it's like a roller coaster. Like he elevates this film just from his music, and it's just perfect. And finally, best production design, like M said, is going to Barbie because the level of pink and toy-like structures is insane. Like, I want to go there and visit Barbie Land just to experience all that, right?
Yes, that must have been so much fun.
Right?
It's so pretty.
I would totally go there just to have fun for a whole day and act childish as possible. Like
there were people from other sets apparently, and that I think it was the one Ryan Gosling, or there was some interview that I think it was with Greta actually, and they said that people who were filming other projects on the Warner Brothers lot like went over to the Barbie set just to see the set because it's just I mean, yeah, it's literally like your Barbie dream house that you had growing up, like come to life, and that had to have been so cool
Yeah.
to just like
Like,
hang out there every day.
like speaking of like other sets coming in, like what's it called? The Barbie car. Like that was made by the
Yes.
same people who did the Batman. And I remember reading an interview of them
Cool.
being like so thrilled to be like, yes, we can do pink cars and not just a Batman car. And I'm just like, this is great. This is great.
Yeah,
The
I think
Barbmobile.
The Barbmobile.
Yeah.
There you go.
What's so interesting to me about the Barbie production design too is like there's a way that they could do that if they were really cheap with it, where it's just like they're just standing in like in the middle of that little cul-de-sac, and we can see all that, but it's all done with the volume and green screen, and like I just love how real it felt. Like, and I know they've said like that is a real. They built all of it, and they spent however many thousands of gallons of pink paint. Like that's just that is how you like if you're gonna do it, you do it right, right? Yeah, and it's like that just it looks so cool, and like you guys said, it looks like a really fun place to hang out. But I think I now have to make my picks, and it's going to be a little bit hard to pick any kind of anything unique after we've already had we'll see what 16 picks off the board. I don't think did no one pick Cillian Murphy for Best Actor? Am I going to be the first
I guess
person?
nobody did
That
that.
was just
To pick
really
that.
obvious,
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, let me go away from the obvious a
Let's
little
do
bit.
the
So
obvious ones out of the way.
You were
literally-
saving it for you, Adam.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So thank you for giving me the one pick that I like. I want to shout out in his performance that like so oftentimes, there was a meme going around not too long ago that's like I think we all saw it on Twitter and other social media. It's like show me a good male performance where he's not yelling. There's not a lot of them. It wasn't great, there's so oftentimes like men get into it and they start yelling, or it gets like they're really really happy and stuff. One thing that I thought Cillian Murphy does so well in this movie is that he never really gets too high or too low. Like I think the most emotion that we see from him is when they come back and from like after the bomb test and they're lifting him up on his shoulders, and even then like he's happy. And we see like a lot of dread and stuff on him, like in the fallout of his consequences, but he's never like balled up in a corner crying and screaming. Like it's like just pure shock like on his face and stuff. And just the way he carries like Oppenheimer through that journey while also not getting too high or too low. I wrote about this in my review up for agentsofandom.com. If I go check that out, that I really think it's like one of the best performances that I've seen like in recent memory. Like there's not a handful of 5 or 6 that I can just be like, oh, this is better, because like
What about Ryan
really,
Gosling?
it's just
Ryan Gosling is amazing.
Yeah, what about
I
Gosling?
agree.
he is great. Ryan Gosling's great. I don't think it's quite, and I'm really glad that the two of them are not going to be competing for each other, because I don't think, unless I'm sorely mistaken, I don't think Ryan Gosling is going to fall into like best lead actor, because there really shouldn't be. If you think about it, there shouldn't be a lead actor from Barbie.
No, I
Margot
don't think
Robbie
there
should be
was.
the
Margot
lead
Robbie-
actress.
Yeah.
And then that should
Yeah.
be it. Like there shouldn't also
Yeah.
be a lead actor from the Barbie film. Like that just
Right.
seems. I know patriarchy and all that, but so I'm gonna take I've been, as you guys were making your picks, I was looking through. I pulled up, went to the Academy's website and I'm pulling up because I don't even know all the like. I have a tough time remembering. There's so many different Oscars that they give out every year, but the one that stands out to me, I think, and also if I'm not mistaken, Oppenheimer would be considered an adapted screenplay, right? Because it's a real life event, like adapted to. I'm going to give best writing for adapted screenplay to Oppenheimer because for me, this film just from start to finish, like from down to the most like what seem inconsequential conversations are just like so captivating. Like it doesn't matter, every single character. There's not a single character where I'm like, oh, this is a waste of time. Like. And I've seen this movie 3 times. If somebody was a waste of time, I would have picked up on it by now. And there's not a single person that I'm like my third time watching, I wasn't like, oh, here comes the such and such scene. Oh, here comes the Josh Peck scene. Here comes the Josh Hartnett scene. I want to fall asleep for the next 5 minutes. Like, no, like every single person in this movie does an incredible job. And like, I was a little disappointed. I think we all were that Florence Pugh's not in the movie all that much. Like, I know for her role, like I think that would have been one of those things you'd had to twist history a little bit to write a bigger role for her, because it seems like that's probably was about the extent of their relationship and stuff. But so yeah, for my second one, we're gonna go with best writing.
He left. By the way, he left building a bomb to go be with Florence Pugh. Like,
That's fair. I
okay,
get
So
that.
like,
real of him.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
would
so
too,
real.
yeah.
Like,
Who among
Florence
us
Pugh.
wouldn't?
Yeah, who
want
among
to,
us
he would,
wouldn't?
ladies.
Yeah. Who else?
Okay.
Yeah,
would-
if he wanted to, he would. Exactly.
Right.
There you go.
So
I love the callback every time of like, did you bring me flowers? Yes, throws the flowers away.
Yeah.
Like,
flowers,
Away.
the
That was
flowers is
perfect.
great. That was just a great
That
look.
was
Yeah,
great.
They did really, really good
Yeah.
job with that. So my third one is going to be a pick. You guys have already made this, but it's what I feel very strongly about. Best original song, just like it has to go to "I'm Just Ken." It can't. I don't unless like the best song ever made comes out in the second part of this year
It already
or
did,
whatever.
Carolina.
Boo.
Yeah, bring in the
Boo.
50s. Yeah,
just wait
Unless-
until Leo has a musical number in Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, right.
Based on his accent that we've seen in the trailers, I just have my doubts on the kind of performance that we're getting. Like, I know everybody's talking about how great it is, but like, I just when actors oftentimes have to do these really heavy accents, that stuff just doesn't hit for me. Like, it's the same. Mark, you were talking about this in The Departed. Some of those accents in The Departed, like Matt Damon's, especially, or not. I don't know if it's Damon's or somebody else's, but it may be Leo's. I'm thinking, but just some of these, especially like the Boston stuff, when actors that aren't from Boston try to give a
Don't get
Boston
me
accent,
started.
it's like really jarring. But anyway, we're way off topic. Yeah, I've got to give best original song to "I'm Just Ken" because for me, like I've literally been listening to it nonstop, and both the times I've seen it, I'm just like watching, just like so captivated and amazing, and then the dance and everything that goes along with it. I'm not sure if that actually fits into the like the voting or fits into the criteria for it or anything. I don't know if it's just the song, but like the choreography that goes along with it from the Kens just takes it to another level. Like it's even just if you just listen to the song, you're like, this is amazing, and then you watch the Kens dancing to it, and you're like, my life could not get any better than it is in this one moment right now. This like it's all downhill from here. Now, I'm going to piggyback off of one of Ash's picks for my last one as well, and I know Ryan Gosling is awesome in this movie. He is, but we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and that's that I think Ryan Gosling has more chances throughout the rest of his life to win another award. And when Leo won for The Revenant and like Samuel, just this past week, Samuel L. Jackson talking about getting one of the honorary Oscars, and being like, there's many performances that I think I should have been nominated for and won for in previous times. I feel like I know comic book stuff is never going to get credit unless it's like adaptations like The Joker or like these really dark, grounded adaptations. Like you're not going to see like anything mostly, especially like Marvel. I mean, the closest thing they ever came, I believe, was this past year with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And that was a really, really awesome movie, but I don't think anybody would have been like seriously considering that for Best Picture or anything like that. But like, and I know Angela Bassett, deservingly so, was nominated, and I really still think she got snubbed. I love Everything Everywhere All at Once, but Jamie Lee Curtis is not as good in that movie as Angela Bassett was in Wakanda Forever. I'm sorry, she just wasn't. But I got to give Best Supporting Actor to Robert Downey Jr. because I don't know if there's going to be another chance for him to do anything like this. And for him to do what he did, I mean, I firmly believe he is one of the most consequential actors in history because like what he did with Marvel, like Marvel wouldn't have become Marvel without him. And if Marvel didn't become what Marvel is now, movies look a hell of a lot different than they do right now if Marvel wasn't what Marvel is. So I really think like his performance throughout the MCU, but especially like in Iron Man and those early movies, like changed the course of movie history forever. And now everybody's trying to replicate what Marvel's doing. How many times do we see some successful movie and then they're like, yeah, we're spawning off a franchise. Like they've got all these, the Prime Video, the Citadel series. I mean, they're like, we got the Citadel cinematic universe coming out. And then it's like, yeah, we got the Extraction cinematic universe. We got all this. And it's like, why? Like, I know why you're doing this because you see Marvel making $1 billion every time by doing it. But guys, this is just completely unnecessary. But yeah, I'm going to give for my 4 picks. Anyway, I'm going to run back through it. Best actor, Cillian Murphy. Adapted screenplay. Best writing for adapted screenplay, Oppenheimer. Best original song, I'm Just Ken. And best supporting actor, RDJ. I'm pretty confident about those picks. I think I'm actually proud of us. We kind of hit on a few really, really good ones, but we all differentiated a little bit. The production design, like I said, I didn't pick on that one particularly, but like that will be one of the big snubs too. Like if that doesn't go to Barbie, just because they clearly put so much time and so much effort and stuff into that. that they definitely deserve to win. But
I honestly want to
There
see
is
a
Wes
Barbenheimer
Anderson's
sweep.
film too, though.
Oh,
That was
true.
good.
That's
That was a
oh,
good
that's
one.
Oh
fair.
right,
That's a good
Asteroid
point.
City.
Mm-hmm.
I actually
Okay,
haven't
that'll be
seen.
tough. I still think it should go to Barbie, but Asteroid City is
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. So yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be a tough one. But I would like to see a
Well,
Barbenheimer sweep. I'd be okay with that.
that would be, yeah, especially after
Yeah,
everybody's enjoying this weekend so much. That would be
Yeah.
appropriate to then just see it just completely sweep the Oscars and stuff. But guys, this has been I've had the time of my life doing this podcast with y'all. This has been so incredibly fun. We're getting ready to close things out. I think we've already had close to a 2-hour episode, which I was thinking when we first drew up this list, I was like, oh, this looks pretty short. This will probably be like an hour. And then knowing us, we talk
I
and
should
talk and
have
talk and talk
known.
about the things we love. That's what we do though. So I'm gonna pass it all to you guys to give your socials and stuff and anything that you may be working on as well. So kick it to you first. And where can the people find you? And is there anything that you want to plug? Any work, past, previous, upcoming, anything like that?
Let's see. I always have the best time in the world trying to plug all my socials. But Twitter, if that's even gonna still exist for a little while, it's underscore EMMINEM. I am on Instagram, books underscore and lattes. That's my like book account, but I kind of use it to talk about pretty much everything. Those are kind of my main socials. I don't have anything upcoming really. That's all that. Actually, I don't really have anything upcoming for now. But my Barbie review is up, and since we're all talking about Barbenheimer, that would be nice if people could go check that out. I have just some other reviews. The Summer I Turned Pretty season 2 is out. It is, I think, on episode 4 now. So my review for the whole season is up there too. And yeah, just check out my articles if you want to see me just talk more about Barbie and a lot of unhinged movie tweets. Then go ahead and follow me.
Everybody, make sure to go do that. And yeah, the Summer I Turned Pretty, Barbie, go check out those two great reviews on the site. Mark, what about you? Where can the people find you? And why don't you talk a little bit about those scroll power rankings articles that you've been writing?
Yeah, you can find me on what was formerly known as Twitter, might now be known as X, at Mark Pacelli 13. That is Piselli, and that's kind of the only social media platform I'm really active on. But when Twitter/X does go belly up, you can find me on Threads. I'll be threading. That's just Mark _ Pacelli. But yeah, I usually power rank scrolls. I do so every week for agentsofandom.com. So it's becoming a more and more difficult endeavor each week because there are very few scrolls that are worth ranking, but and even fewer humans who you could potentially see become scrolls. So it is a labor of love. So please read them all on agentsofandom.com.
Yeah, I gotta say you've been doing a great job with those, and we've only got 1 week left to talk about Secret Invasion. And I gotta say, it's been a while since I was kind of excited for a Marvel property to be over and to move on to the next. Like I'm super excited for the Marvels. I was a little bit bummed to learn that this is going to play so heavily into that because I really don't like Secret Invasion and I don't want this to hurt any of my like hype for the Marvels because I'm super excited for that. So I don't want a lot of this stuff to carry in because like the Marvels just seems like it's going to be absolutely awesome. But Ash, what about you? What have you been working on and where can the people find you on socials?
You can find me on Ash or at Ash Nerds More on Twitter, Instagram, Threads. I'm Ash Reviews More on Letterboxd.
Oh yeah, I should do that.
Yeah, right now I will be working on something. It's a little. These are confusing times, as Hulk would say, with the strikes going on. I'm trying to kind of figure out what I'm comfortable with doing right now. But I plan on writing and maybe making some TikToks for Agents of Fandom. But that's where you can find me. That's what's going on. I do want to fact check myself. So Carolina was was last year's was last year's
They can win again. It's okay.
Academy
They can do
Award.
it again. I still ruin it. So they can do it again.
Yeah, okay, they could do it again. But anyways, that's it.
Yeah. Ash, for those of you that are listening, Ash has an incredible review up on agentsofandom.com of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Go make sure you go check that out, which is a film that I very much enjoyed, even though it kind of had a bit of a spiraling box office and theater run and got a lot of, I think, undeserving negative talk. But Ash wrote a great review on it, so everybody go check that out. Aisha, What about you? Where can the people find you on socials? And why don't you talk a little bit about this Marvel's trailer breakdown that you're writing and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so you can find me on the dying app known as Twitter, Evans Larsons, as the public would know me, or Evan if you're TJ. If you know, you know. Anyway, and then I'm Aisha Shabish, which is my full name smashed together on Instagram, Threads, and Letterboxd. And speaking of the Marvels, I did write the trailer breakdown for the second trailer that's coming out very soon, and I'm very excited for people to read it, and I'm very excited for people to see this movie because I love Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau, so yay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all super excited for the Marvels, but everybody stay tuned to the agentsofandom.com. Every week we've got content for everybody up there. Great articles, news, reviews, editorials, all that kind of stuff. There's stuff for everybody. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to sit down and talk about these two awesome movies with me. Hopefully this wasn't too much of a chore or something that I think we were all very, very excited to talk about. For our listeners, thank you all for taking a couple of hours out of your day to listen to this podcast. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.